Hello everyone, we're back. We were here before, but we had a little technical difficulty. One moment while I sip on the slab and we'll talk further. Oh dear. All right, welcome back folks, welcome back. I don't know quite what happened there. We were kicked off. If you had tuned in before, we were doing Axes and Slabs, the Midnight Hammer edition. Now, why are we doing the Midnight Hammer edition? We had some customer feedback from a gentleman called Stu McLeod. Stuart McLeod. I'm guessing he's Scottish or something. And he writes, "Dear Colonel, shut up with the BS. I want to see guitars." Now, Stuart, we've taken that on board. You want guitars? We're going to talk guitars. Welcome, everyone. Ibiso is on. Marley Zappa is back. Hi, Marley. Are you Frank Zappa's kid? White Rock 693 is on. Heist Recording Studio is on. And Mr. Daniel Spider is on. Hi, welcome back. We were here before, but something went wrong. Okay, I've switched to the 4 of 5G. So we're here permanently. We were talking Strats. We're talking Midnight Hammer. And we're talking Stuart McLeod. Now, Stuart's doing it pretty rough in Barwon Prison at the moment. So he understands the meaning of Midnight Hammer. All right, we're talking Strats. You come into the shop and you see a lot of Strats. You can see they're everywhere. There's Fenders everywhere. And you sort of wonder to yourself, oh, by the way, tonight I'm drinking a shout out to Hextra Terrestrial. This is by Colossal Brewing. Shout out guys. Send me a free slab, would be great. Okay, let's approach it logically. You need a budget. Now, if your budget is $1,000, you can get a Stratocaster, you can. But you're probably going to get a Chinese or a Mexican one, which is fine. They're really good. Some of them are great. But if you want American, you need a bit more. But you don't need much more. I think if you've got sort of somewhere between 1,500 and $2,000, you can get an excellent American standard. Now, you've got all the American professionals, American this, American that, but before you were born, most of you, they were called American Standards and American Deluxes. And they're kind of like a really good guitar, American made for under $1,000. Here's one right now. This is 2016. Might be one of the last ones they did. Under $2,000 for an American Strat. In white, just like Hendrix. I love Hendrix. If you've joined me, hi, it's Big Pete. Hi, Big Pete. Hi, Matt Gore. Welcome. Hi, Lee. Lee's eye. Hi, Lee. Ronan is on. Ronan. Welcome. We're talking Strats. And this is the Stuart McLeod Midnight Hammer edition. We're doing it especially for Stuart because Stuart wrote in and said, cut the BS. I want to see guitars. And you got guitars, my friend. We're going to do it. All right. Okay. Now, what's this looking thing? Weird looking thing. Oh boy, I've only had a couple of sips of the Hextra Terrestrial and it's causing me to slur my words. Whenever you see this, can you see? You see how it's got the front input jack? What that says is this is a 1983 Strat. Now, I'm not a huge fan of these, but they do have their moments and they have a really wacky sort of trem system inside that no other Strat has. Probably for a good reason, but again, American, is it vintage? Is 1983 vintage? I don't know, but you know, just over $2,000. It's pretty good. I know we're in Hawthorne and people just let $2,000 fall out of their back pocket around here, but you know, it's doable. Who else? Mainland Daniel is on. Rooster Lucas is back. Hello there. Sorry, I was on before and I fell away. We're talking Strats. Now here's another one. It's got the big headstock. This is, I think this is an American original or something. I don't know. But anyway, that's under $2,000. It's made in America. There's heaps of them. Now, if your budget goes above $2,000 into the threes or the high twos, well, you can start, everything's American. Almost everything. You get some Japanese, but you start getting into these. So that's a Fender original 50s in Aztec gold. Contains the DNA of real Aztecs. That's right. Mainland, Daniel, Brewster, Lucas. Yes, I've covered it. Okay, now, let's say you've got more than that. You've got $4,000 or $5,000. Pretty good. Let's go. Oh, God. Extraterrestrial. Good. If you've got $4,000 and above, well, you get into the custom shop stuff. What is the difference between the custom shop stuff? Here's one right here. Well, they apparently use slightly better woods, better pickups, a little bit more handmade, better finish, but you're paying for that. Now, if you get one that has been dragged behind a truck for a couple of kilometers, so you want it bashed up, it's even more expensive. Yes, believe it or not, it is more expensive to have your guitar get the poop smacked out of it. All right, so that's your custom shop. Now, let's say you're a blues lawyer. You love coming in here, as they do, and you have untold amounts of cash. Budget is no limit. And when you come in here and you tell me your budget is no limit, I love to hear that. It's my favorite words. Welcome, everyone. If you've tuned into Axes and Slabs, this is the special Midnight Hammer edition. The Stu McLeod Midnight Hammer edition. Stuart's doing it tough in Barwon Prison with Michael Ray, and he is getting slammed. Okay, who else? Phil Hanley is on. Owen Drinnan is on. Patrick Ryan Music is on. I've been doing my family tree. There's lots of Patrick Ryans in it. Maybe we're related. All right, so you're a blues lawyer, blues doctor, you've come in, or blues plumber, blues electrician. You've come in. What's your budget, sir? I don't have a budget. Here, play this. So you can get into this. That's a 71 Strat. Nice. It's starting to get up around the 10 grand-ish mark. The guitar in the background, it's a parts car, so that's mine actually. But it's a 64, 63 thing. Okay, and that's kind of it for Fenders. And then you can the sky's the limit. If you want to spend $30,000, I guess you can if you really want that. Someone's written something. Clint Carell, what did I miss? Oh. Well, we're talking about strats. Don't worry, I will upload this and we can all view it later. But Clint, this is it's Axes and Slabs. Here's the slab. It's Extraterrestrial by Colossal Brewing. We did take some feedback from a Stu McLeod, and he said, "Stop with the bullshit, buddy. I want to see guitars." So, in the true spirit of the game, we've cracked open a beer, and this is the Midnight Hammer edition, especially for Stuart. Now, so we were doing strats at all values, okay? We went from 1,000 to 10,000 and up. It's the same with Telecasters. You can get a cheap-ish Telecaster for next to nothing, really. There's one right there. That's a Mexican classic 50s telly. They're really good. And they're sort of sub $1,500. They're excellent. But let's say you want something a bit more, okay? You've got a bit more money. And here you are. You get into these American Original or American Vintage 52s. Now, actually, I have an American Vintage 52. We're just about to bang the price down on that in the true spirit of the Midnight Hammer. Stuart McLeod Special Edition Midnight Hammer. This one, that's an American Vintage 2. I think we're going to drop that down under 2.5. Or so I have been told by the owner. Okay, let's say the budget is custom shop budget. So 4,000 and up. You start getting into the relics. Here's one here. That's a 52 reissue. Painted in blue and scratched up. Hi everyone. Jackson's is on. Jimmy is on. Hello, Jimmy. Lukey Measles is on. Clint Carell says, big neck on the 52. It's not too bad. It's like a soft V. There you go. Now, let's say you've got 10 grand and you don't know what to do with it. Well, I can tell you what to do with it. You can come in here And this is actually sold, but now we're getting into the master-built guitars. What is a master-built? Well, it's one bloke, probably not Stu McLeod, one bloke who gets all the bits and then gets a couple of these, and he picks the best wood and the best electrics, and he hand makes everything from Fender. So you're paying for someone to hand make you a guitar from Fender, which a lot of them are kind of in the same price as a vintage guitar. What are my thoughts on that? Well, you know, I'm happy if you're happy. That's what I say. I'm happy if you're happy. All right. But the master-built stuff is really in the same price as something like this. That's a 71 Telecaster for $7.5. Now, the master-built guitar is more expensive than that. But the master-built guitar is built after, that's a broadcaster. So what is a broadcaster? Well, to get a real broadcaster, it would be $100,000 or something ridiculous. Broadcaster was the original name of the Telecaster, and then Fender were sued by Gretsch, so they had to change the name. But if you look at the headstock on this one, it says broadcaster. There you have it. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm making sense. But the master-built stuff is so expensive that you can almost get, I mean, that's a 69 Telly on the couch. It's basically, the master-built guitar is more expensive than the 69 Telly. So, but you have to compare apples with apples. That master-built guitar over there is based on a broadcaster, which I've just been talking about. If you've joined us, it's Axes and Slabs. It's a Stu McLeod ceremonial Midnight Hammer edition. Stuart wrote to us and told me to shut up and get on with the guitars. So we're doing it. All right, that's Fender. Should we do some Gibson? Why not? Broken Tim is on. Mr. Smith is on. Banging, bang, bang. Oh, hello there. Big Nook 156 is on. Hello, welcome. Welcome to Axes and Slabs. Okay, let's talk Gibson. It's the same situation. Let me just have a sip of the slab. Hang on. Oh, that's better. Banging, bang, bang. Welcome. You know all about the Midnight Hammer. This this is the Stuart McLeod. Stuart wrote to us and said, shut up and get on with it. Stuart's doing it hard in Barwon Prison at the moment. So we're doing a special Midnight Hammer edition just for him. Okay, let's talk Gibson. Same sort of deal, but the price point starts a bit higher. So if you want Gibson on the headstock of your guitar, you're going to need about at least $2,000, unless you're incredibly fortunate and maybe get a little... Oh, they're still doing the SGs and that sort of thing. The SG specials are kind of cheap, but if you walked into a Gibson dealer right now, I mean, even Epiphones are like $2,500, so it's ridiculous. But look, here's a Gibson Les Paul Standard. I don't know if you can see that. The light's failing. My eyes are failing. From 2008, 50s neck. It's all stock. It's chambered, this one, I think. But you're looking sort of 3.5. 3.5 gets you an American-made Gibson. Here's another one, a little bit more modern. It is actually called a modern Les Paul, Gibson Les Paul Modern. That's starting 3.5, 4. Okay. But not custom shop. If you want a custom shop Gibson, well, you're up for, you're going to have to do a lot of plumbing and a lot of electrical work, and blues lawyers will need to put some folks in jail with Stuart McLeod because the price is astronomical. Here is an astronomically expensive guitar. This is a collector's choice, Mick Ralph's. And it's been aged by Mr. Murphy and all that sort of stuff. It's a 58. It's actually a clone of Mick Ralph's from Bad Company. It's his cloned Les Paul. But $10,000 and up. So crazy expensive. Now you can get some good deals still at Gibson around the 4,000 mark, like these old 90s 335s. They're still pretty well priced. Oh, excuse me. I just burped. If you were to buy a custom shop version of that, that will be another $3-4 on top. So you're looking 7, 8, 9, 10. Gibson. It's the Louis Vuitton of the guitar world. All right. Well, let's say you can't stand new stuff. It's got to be vintage. All right. I'm with you. I like vintage. Now, let's go right up. Let's go right up the top. Okay. Anything from the 1950s that has PAF pickups, these humbucking pickups right here, the very first edition of them from Gibson is astronomically expensive. Now that is a Gibson Switchmaster from 1958. That's $25K. Now we're in Hawthorne. That's almost the price of a counter meal at the pub across the road. But you know, for some people that's a lot of money. For me, that's a huge amount of money. If I went and spent that, I'd be strumming that down at the local park or busking in Woolworths. Here's another one which we need to fix the pick guard on. That's a 1956 ES175. So, look, it is what it is. Vintage Gibson is very, very expensive. Is it better than the new? You know, I mean, you can spend $2 or $3 or $4 and get a pretty good Gibson. It doesn't have to be vintage. Broken Tim says, what is the definition of vintage now? A guitar made in the 90s seems almost new to me. Same here. That's how old I am. Look, all right, I'm going to be straight up with you. This is the reality. If you're investing all your money in vintage guitars, if you think the future, I'll walk down the hall as I talk. If you think the future is vintage guitars, well, I've got some news for you. You are incorrect. Here's a vintage guitar. Here's a 65 Jazzmaster. That's a beautiful guitar. But it's about $10,000. $10,000 can get you a car, I think. Oh, we're heading down the back. I'll show you. This is where the magic happens. This is where Davo, the chimney sweep, does videos for us. He sits there and we don't let him out for a toilet or anything. The reality with the vintage market is as follows. If you bought a Gibson or a Fender guitar from somewhere, for Gibson, I would say if you bought a Les Paul from 1957 through to 1960 and you bought it like 50 years ago, you are going to do very well. If you bought a Fender from the 50s or early 60s, and you bought it sort of 40 years ago, you're probably going to do really well. But anything outside of that, I think is kind of overpriced, to be honest. 70s guitars have dramatically come down. So it wasn't that long ago where, you know, can I get 25 grand for my 76 Strat? Yeah. No, sir, you cannot. So that sort of gear. So really, vintage stuff has been... The Blues Lawyers bought it up years ago. Who else is on? Kermit Richards is on. Biz on T is on. The Knockouts are on. Hello, Knockouts. From Europe. Must be that time. We're just doing a shop tour. We're talking price points, Fenders, Gibsons. It's really the same. If you have a couple of grand, you can get something good. You can get something American made. If you are under $1,000, I think, you know, it's Mexican, it's Chinese, it's Indonesian. There's nothing wrong with that. And again, it's the same with acoustics. So right up there is a guitar called a Santa Cruz that's handmade in America. So it's secondhand, but it's still expensive. It's still over $6,000. So you're paying for that labor. But, you know, here's a Cole Clark, local manufacturer. Really good value. So maybe if you're on a budget and you're looking for an acoustic, I would say go for the Cole Clark or the local stuff. Give the local guys a shot. Here's a local guy right here, the Wallace Brown. Amazing. Amazing guitar. All right, Ethan says, hello, how are we? I'm good. Welcome, Ethan. I'm here. I need to get out of here. I've been in here with Dave, the chimney suite, filming all day. So we're doing a special show because we had a customer write to us, Mr. Stu McLeod, and he said, you got to shut up with your BS, Colonel, and show me some guitars. And I'm like, all right, buddy. So we started our operation called Midnight Hammer. And that's what we've been doing. All right, I think it's time to get out of here. I'd like to thank Colossal Brewing for giving me this Hextra terrestrial beer. I'd like to thank people for tuning in from Europe. We're upstairs at the Colonel at the moment. I don't want to go downstairs because we're closed on Mondays. People look through the window and they want to come in, but I don't want you to come in. Senor Grande is on. When Senor Grande comes up from behind, you know it's time to go. Thank you, everyone. This was a special edition show, the Midnight Hammer edition, and I'll upload it. Hang on, I need to put my beer down so I can go away. Bye, everyone. I will see you tomorrow. Oh, hang on. I think... No. I'm trying to go. All right, here we go. Attempt number 2. Bye.